Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 68b. This Amud of 68, the second side, starts the at the top of the page. It starts the eighth chapter of Tractate Sanhedrin, which is Ben Sorer Umore, which means they translate as stubborn and rebellious son. The Torah describes Ben Sorer Umore, Me'emasai Naaseh Ben Sorer Umoire. The Torah describes the punishment given to a son who steals money from his parents to eat a gluttonous meal of meat and wine in the company of lowly men. If his parents bring him to court for this act, he is exhorted to desist and is punished with lashes. If he repeats the same misdeed and is again brought to court by his parents within the same 3-month period, he is considered a stubborn and rebellious son. He is liable to receive the death penalty, which in this case is execution by stoning. From when does a stubborn and rebellious son become liable to receive the death penalty imposed upon a stubborn and rebellious son? Mishiavish de Sairois, Vachiakiv Zogan Atachno Leelioin, Elishidav Chacham Miloshinikio, Shinema Kielish Ben Veloibas, Ben Veloish. From when he grows 2 pubic hairs, which are the sign of puberty, and from which time he is considered an adult until he has grown a beard around. The reference here is to the lower beard, meaning it's a reference to the pubic region, and not the upper beard, meaning his facial hair. But the sages spoke in euphemistic terms. As it is stated, if a man has a stubborn and rebellious son, Deuteronomy 21:18, which indicates that the penalty for rebelliousness is imposed upon a son, but not upon a daughter, and upon a son, but not upon a fully grown man. A minor under the age of 13 is exempt from the penalty imposed upon a stubborn and rebellious son because he has not yet reached the age of inclusion in mitzvot. Gemara, the Talmud says, Katan min alam depator. The Gemara inquires about the source of the halacha taught in the Mishnah. From where do we derive that a minor is exempt from the punishment imposed upon a stubborn and rebellious son? The Gemara comments that this question is puzzling. Minalan, kedik tani taima, shaloi ba lechlal mitzvahs. Istu hechen ashkachan de'al kasuv, hechen dilvoi ikra lemiftareh. From where do we derive this halacha? It's like a rhetorical question. The reason is taught in the Mishnah, because he has not yet reached the age of inclusion in mitzvahs. And furthermore, where do we find that the verse punishes a minor, so that a special verse should be required here in order to exempt him? Anan hachi kamrinan. The Gemara clarifies, this is what we are saying. Atu ben sorer umore al cheto neherag, al shem sofo neherag, vekeven dal shem sofo neherag afilu katanami, veod ben velo ish katan mashma. The Gemara clarifies, this is what we are saying. Is this to say that a stubborn and rebellious son is killed for a sin that he already committed? But, as will be explained on 71b, he is killed for what he will become in the end. The Torah understands that since the boy has already embarked upon an evil path, he will continue to be drawn after his natural tendencies and commit many offenses that are more severe. It is therefore preferable that he should be killed now so that he may die in relative innocence, rather than to be put to death in the future bearing much more guilt. And since he is executed for what he will become in the end, one might have thought that even a minor as well can be sentenced to death, to the death penalty as a stubborn, rebellious son. And furthermore, the exclusion of son but not a man indicates that a minor is in fact included in the halacha, as he is not yet a man. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav Yamar Krav Chi El Ish Ben Asamuch Ligvuraso Shel Ish. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says a minor is exempt from the punishment imposed upon a stubborn and rebellious son, as the verse states, if a man has a son, Deuteronomy 12:18, which indicates that the halacha applies to a son who is close to the stage of having the strength of a man, meaning close to full maturity, but not to a younger boy. Ki asar of dimi amar hakafas gid, below hakafas beitzim. Okay, this is getting a little technical, so I'll try to keep it, The Mishnah, kosher. The Mishnah teaches that a boy can be sentenced as a stubborn, rebellious son only until he has grown a lower beard, which means the pubes. Rabbi Chia teaches that the Brisa states until their hair surrounds the kavoine. What? That's weird. Okay, whatever. Then Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia. He said in explanation, Rabbi Chia's statement, the references in the Mishnah is to hair surrounding the thing, and not to hair surrounding the lower, which grows later. Okay. Amar Rav Chizda. Okay, Amar Rav Chizda, katan shehoilid ein benoi nasa ben soire moire. Shenemar ki yeh leish ben velo leben ben. Hai mi bayele kid Rav Yehuda Amarav. Im kein lemekro ki yeh ben leish. Ma yeh leish ben shmamina kid Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda says, in the case of a minor who fathered a child, his son cannot become a stubborn and rebellious son, as it is stated, if a man has a stubborn and rebellious son, which indicates that the halacha applies only if a man has a son, but not if a son, meaning one who is not yet a man has a son. The Gemara asks, how can Rav Chizda derive his halacha from this verse? Doesn't he require this verse to teach us that which Rav Yehuda says, that Rav says, namely, that a minor is exempt from the punishment imposed upon a stubborn and rebellious son? The Gemara answers, this verse teaches two halachos, as were the intention to teach only the halacha that a minor is exempt, let the verse say, if there be a son to a man. For what reason does the verse introduce a change into the normal word order and state, if a man has a son? Conclude from it that the verse serves to teach the ruling of Rav Chizda. Ve'ema kuli lahachid udasa im kein nemakra ben ish ma'il ish ben shmamina tarti. The Gemara asks, if so, say that the entire verse comes to teach us this, that what Rav Chizda said, and that it does not teach that a minor is not included in the halacha of a stubborn and rebellious son. The Gemara answers, if so, the verse should have stated, if there be the son of a man, which is the meaning of if a man has, what is the meaning of if a man has a son? Conclude two conclusions from it, both that a minor cannot become a stubborn and rebellious son, and that if a minor fathered a son, the son cannot become a stubborn and rebellious son. Upliga de rabedam rabba katon in a moilid shenemar v'im ein ish goel The Gemara comments, and Rav Chizda's statement disagrees with the opinion of Rabbah. As Rabbah says, in connection with one who returns stolen property after having taken a false oath that he did not steal it, a minor cannot father a child, as it is stated, but if the man has no relative to whom restitution may be made, let the trespass that is recompensed to the Lord be the priest's. Numbers 5:8. And is there any man in the Jewish people who does not have a relative? All members of the Jewish people are related, as they all descend from the patriarch Jacob, and therefore every person has a relative who is fit to inherit from him. They forgot to mention a convert, but anyway, Ella begezel hager. Right here. Ella begezel hager kasmedava. Rather, the verse is speaking of the robbery of a convert, who is treated like a newborn child and considered to have no ties to his natural parents or relatives. If he did not father any children after his conversion, he is a man with no relatives at all. And therefore, if he dies, property that had been stolen from him must be returned to a priest. That's interesting.